What's up guys, and welcome back to another Hollow Fragment video. And in today's video I'm going to be going over 10 tips, and it is going to be like tips slash things you probably don't know. And this is going to be 10 of them. It was kind of hard for me to put this together because for like the last 3 I wasn't sure what to really put, because I couldn't remember if the game either tells you about it or, mainly if just the game doesn't tell you about it. So with that being said, let's get started with number 1, which is going to be the buff cap in this game. So just like AL, this game has a buff cap as well. It's lower than AL, and this one is 14 to 15. Now I say 14 to 15 because I was reading online and I see a couple people say it's 15, but whenever I was trying to test this myself, it always seemed like my buff was being removed at 14. And also right down there where my burst gauge is, here, let me give an example. I throw this buff on and it's there right there. And I can throw some more buffs on. And the max buffs at the bottom of that bar is, I believe, 14. So you can see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then, let's see. Okay, so we can't get a 13 or 14 right there. But I think it's like 13 or 14 right there. But whenever I was trying it, and I was checking my buff list, I unequipped a lot of stuff so I wouldn't have to see these passives. Like these first 2 are passives. So this would be 15 minus 2, which is 13. And I have 13 buffs active. But I have had 14 active, and I believe at one time I also had 15. So it's kind of weird. That's why I just say 14 to 15. It most likely could be 15 like the other people are saying. It was just kind of weird for me to test this because it's not as easy as you can test it with AL, because a bunch of buffs either give you negative effects or they give you multiple effects at one time. So it's kind of hard to gauge it. But another thing I also wanted to mention is you can have a lot of buffs and debuffs active at the same time. The most I've had active is 53. So in my buff list, I've had 53 buffs, and counting debuffs as well. So yeah, that's number 1 with buff caps. So now let's move on to number 2. Okay, so I'm in multiplayer to show this off better. So I put this on death game, and so like the enemies can actually like really hit me. And here we go. I'm gonna pull all these. First thing I'm gonna do is pop hyper armor. I'm also gonna pop this so I can get my SP back. And right before hyper armor runs out, I'm gonna pop protective armor. And what's gonna happen is that even though I just pop a fresh new buff to where I won't be taking damage, since my hyper armor has not ran out, it's not gonna work. So you'll see what I mean in just a second. So now, and then that runs out, and you can see I'm taking damage even though I popped that buff. Now, if you do have Shiny Hollow, you can also pop that, and that will keep you alive for a little bit till your 12 copies are up. So that's a little bit of something that you can use to avoid it. But just keep that in mind if you are using hyper armor and protective armor, because that can really screw you over. And it's something that I didn't even know about in the beginning, and I had to find that out the hard way. So just keep that in mind when you use them. Just wait for one of the 2 to fully run out, then pop it. If you can, try to move away from the enemy. That way you won't, take any hits. And if it's like a bunch of enemies, then you want to try to move away from them so you can go pop your other one. That way you won't take damage to end up dying or just too much damage, So that's going to be it for this part on the whole hyper armor situation. Now let's move on to the next one. So for number 3, I'm still right here because I didn't need to move, but number 3 is going to be that you have to manually equip passives, and it can only be one passive. So what I mean by this is if we go up into the skill tree, you'll notice that these categories right here and even these, they have passives right here at the top. So right here, passive is weakness detection effect, critical rate plus 5%. So you would think whenever you master this, you would automatically have it on for forever, but you don't. So in my buff list, it's not here. So for these, you have to manually equip them, which you go to it, press X on it again, and it'll ask you, do you want to equip it? It'll replace, whatever skill you have on right now. Click yes. And then if you go to my buff list, you'll see that I lose that SP regen one I had because that was my other one I had active, and now I get a crit up. So that's something to note. That's something I didn't even know about until sometime after, whenever I was playing the Vita version of the game, way back when. But yeah, I don't think the game teaches you this in a tutorial, but this is something you could easily miss, honestly. So keep that in mind. I mean, the most thing you're going to be using most likely is going to be this for the XP if you want to farm levels. And then most likely you would end up using this one down here, which is Rising Spirit plus 5% in all stats. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind, and that is what I have for number 3. So now let's move on to number 4. So for number 4, we have that hollow area will spawn area bosses when an area rank reaches rank 3. I think this is still the same I think they spawn still at rank 3. I do know the rank can go higher. I believe back in the day it used to only go to 3 as max. But what I mean by this is when you look at your hollow map and you see my areas, they're all rank 3. These will decay over time, but they will only start to decay if you don't do hollow missions while you're playing the game. So if you're not playing the game, these will stay wherever you left them at. But if you're on the game and you're not doing hollow missions, they will start to decay. But you can see right here, we have this mission, and it is the Lust of the Kobold Lord. I believe all these are mission rank 3 for the area bosses. And you can get some pretty good equipment from them. Like this one right here, you get a not Knights of the Blood. I think it's White Knight's jacket, which is a armor. And it's right here, and it gives the effect of attacker, which is the attacker role in multiplayer, which I think boosts your attack, but you lose some defense. But this can be good if you can end up getting them, as like kinda like early in-game armor in a way, or just for some AIs, But yeah, that's what you can get from them. I believe all of them pretty much give like armor. I think one gives a shield. I don't think any of them give a weapon, but I believe online there is a list of what their drops are, so you can check that out as well. But that is what I have for number 4. So for number 5, this one I won't show, so this is going to be quick, but this one is that there are 3 secret characters in this game. 2 of them are in the hollow area, and 1 is in Aincrad, which is where you do the floors to go all the way up to floor 100. But there are 3 secret characters, and I'm not going to go over who they are. 2 of them are female, and 1 is male, which the male nobody would ever guess, honestly. I will probably make a video separately on them, on how you can kind of get them. I've already gotten them on this save file. I probably won't start a new save file to show. I'll probably just go in their general area and then just tell you how to do it. But there's 3 secret characters. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you who they are. I don't want to spoil it. But if you really want to see, you can just look them up online. But I'll end up covering them at some other point. But yeah, that is what I have for number 5. Okay, so moving on to number 6, we have offhand sword skill effects do not take effect. Now, this one's kind of a weird subject, and I kind of tested this quickly and not like fully in depth as I could, but this is my findings of it. I'll also link a message board that you can read through that also has people's thoughts and stuff about it. This is what I found though. And what I mean by this is like right here, your subhand, your offhand, whatever you want to call it, is that the effects will not take effect. So the way I tested this was I would use my Externia sword, which has sword skill damage up, and I would put that in my main hand. I would see what my baseline damage for that would be, and then I would swap to Ragnarok in my main hand, and I would put the Externia in subhand, and then I would see what the baseline would be for Ragnarok. Now, here's my findings from this. For Ragnarok in my main hand, I was hitting 175,666 at risk level 2 for the boss, and that was my consistent baseline for it. And whenever I had the Externa sword in my main hand, my damage was 135,125 at risk level 2 for the baseline for that. So I don't think this is the case for every sword, because for example, you have this one like reflects damage, bleeding right here on this one, the attack up, energy drain, risk down, attack minus 100. I'm pretty sure most of these will work in the subhand as well. I don't know, I haven't tried them. I'm just assuming. I think it's more the case of these two swords conflicting with each other, because Ragnarok has sword skill damage up as well, but it also has extra damage to bosses, while Externa only has sword skill damage up. So I'm assuming what's being conflicted is the sword skill damage up. Either we're not getting the sword skill damage up from this in offhand, or it's because we're just not getting that extra damage to bosses while it's in our offhand. So that's my findings on that. That's what it seems to be for me. And yeah, so that's it for number 6. So that is something you should know if you want to use, these two swords together. Just use Ragnarok in your main hand and then use Externa sword in your subhand. So with that being said, that's it for number 6. Let's move on to number 7. So for number 7, this one is going to be that you can equip gear on sword skills. So just like AL, this is the only game where you can equip gear on sword skills. And the way you do it is just you go over here and then you hit options on the sword skill, and you can just put the equipment on there. And just like AL, it works the same. The only difference is that right here you can make it to where whenever you activate it, you can make it to where the equipment returns to your inventory. But this is something you don't need. I don't even think the game mentions it at all. But this is just something to note if you want to kind of maximize damage, really. But totally not needed for sure. But that's just something I'm going to mention. So now let's move on to number 8. So for number 8, I want to have this one as characters can get exclusive equipment, or not exclusive equipment, but exclusive outfits from leveling their roles in battle. Now what I mean by this is, for example, Straya. We can go to our character information and view character information. So you can see her role mostly I have is her on the defense side. So her defense right there is just at its max, it's at its peak. And whenever you get one of these categories to their peak, you will unlock a outfit for them in that role. So you get a defense armor, attack armor, and buff armor. And then you can go to character information, and you can go to about exclusive armor, and this is where you can change them. And I think this right here changed to comprehensive armor. I believe you get this after you get all these other 3, but let's see. Comprehensive armor, that's hers right there. And these can actually come with their own stats, their actual equipment. So we go to view armor, and that's her armor right there. Which these can be really good because there's not too many female armors in this game, but these can be nice. These can practically be their best armor in a way, but you can also give them other good stuff. But this is just something to note in case you don't know. So if you're out in battle, always praise them. Just make sure if you're praising them that you're praising, one specific category. So sometimes they'll have it to where, if they're using sword skills, they'll have the attack roll pop up, and you can praise that to increase their attack roll. Sometimes they'll have defense roll. You can praise that, increase their defense roll. And then they'll have buffing pop up to increase buffing roll. So just make sure whatever outfit you're trying to go for, or whatever role you're trying to set them up as, you praise that mostly. So keep that in mind. Now let's go ahead and move on to number 9. So number 9 right here is going to be that you can do implementations in multiplayer to get them done easier. So if you're playing just like outside of multiplayer, once you do a holo mission, it's gone. You have to wait for it to pop back up on whatever timer it's on. And certain holo missions, you have to do certain ranks. You have to be a certain rank mission. You have to do certain things that only certain enemies can do. So it can make it a pain if you're only doing them in just the regular game. But you can go to multiplayer and you will have all these unlocked. I think the only thing is that I don't think you'll have every teleport point unlocked in multiplayer. I think you'll just have, what you have. I'm not sure on that. You can end up checking yourself. But you can select any of the missions. This is all the missions in the game pretty much. And, you can see their rank. You can see, what enemies you would need to fight. And this can be really helpful for trying to get certain holo mission, implementations done, because you don't have to wait on a timer. You can just go in, do it, go out, do it again over and over. So for those of you who are gonna go for implementations and certain Gears implementations, this is your best bet of doing them easy and fast. So with that being said, let's move on to also this is also part of part 9. I put this as like 9B. And this one is that some implementation gear can be gotten from holo missions. So what I mean by that is, I don't know all of them, but I know for sure this one right here, Dragon of Infinite Might, where you fight Externa, the Radiant Dragon. And this one, he can actually give, like you see right here, he gives these charms, Rarity 4 through 5, 2 through 3. But this one right here for Rarity 4 through 5, he can actually drop, I think, the Red Alert is one, and then Stasis Evil Eye. Which, let me go ahead and show you, that the Stasis Evil Eye is actually a charm that you can get from implementations. So this right here, he can actually drop this, and it gives you a debuff accuracy up, and reduces your burst gauge. But if I go in implementations, you will also see it there as well. So let me scroll down. I believe it's in a debuffing category. Trying to see which one that's two-hand. I believe it's like the spear one. Yeah, so right here, you can see it's in this category. So you can get that instead of doing the implementation for it. You can just go fight him and have a chance at getting it. So that's something I want to mention. Like I said, I don't know how many other ones there are, but this one for sure I know. So with that being said, let's move on to the last one, number 10. So for the final one, number 10, this one is something I don't think the game necessarily tells you, but in a way it kinda does. And that is that you can craft Rarity 6 weapons from Liz's shop. And you can, there's 2 versions. You can get 2 versions for each weapon. So, like for example, for one hand, I don't think I have both of them. But I believe it's this right here, Liberator, Astral Legion, and then the other one is, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it on screen. I'm going to put all the weapons on screen so you can see what their effects are. The stats are going to be different because when you forge equipment, whatever percentage you have in like the other stats determines what stat it's going to come with. And you'll see what I mean in just a second, but each weapon has 2 Rarity 6 parts, and so far, as I'm recording this, I've only gotten up to Dagger, So I don't know how the two-hand axe is, I don't know the mace, I don't know the spear, but so far from what I've seen from them, one of the rapiers and one of the katanas are honestly one of the best ones out of any of them. But another thing too is that I don't know if this works on PC, but if you're playing on PlayStation, you can just upload your save to the cloud before you come do this, and then you can come over here, craft. If it's not the one you're looking for, if it's not the stats you're looking for, like with the effects, then you can just close the game, go re-download your save, and literally just do that over and over. So you don't have to, you know, keep going out for materials. But let me go ahead and show it to you for a second. So right here, request forging. I don't think I need to use any gems, but I'm gonna go ahead and just select a gem anyway. So you want to go to forge, and right here it costs 3 million, which is quite a bit. Quite a bit. But if you can get lucky, these can really be your best weapons for the entire game. So let's go to one hand. I'll craft a one hand. And you can see right here, you know, different materials make a, they increase the chances of, you know, that stat to be added. So right here, insect stinger, if I add those, it'll give me a higher chance to have accuracy stat roll on the weapon. So, and as the more materials you add, when you add more of them, the rarity range will increase. So it'll go from 2 to 6, 3 to 6, 4 to 6, 5 to 6, and then you can get 6 to 6. So you'll be guaranteed a Rarity 6 weapon. And between the two Rarity 6 weapons, it's about like a 50% chance to get one or the other. But real quick, I'm going to go ahead and add all of these materials so I can get the 6 out of 6. And we'll see what I get whenever I come back. Okay, so there we go. I finished adding all the materials. This can be a lot of materials to add, so you probably won't be doing this real early in the game, but I suggest if you do want to get these as like early as possible, or like to help you in end game, then, you know, fight every enemy you see, try to get drops from them, and then also pick up any materials whenever you have to go do those quests to get materials out in the field. Pick up everything. So yeah, with that being said, let's see what we can get. Go ahead and craft. It'll either be the Liberator Astral Legion or Variable V Vice. That's what the other one was called. So let's see which one we get. Liberator Astral Legion. So right here she says she doesn't need gems for foraging, so luckily she gives them back. So when you're forged, you don't need any gems. It'll just have 100% success rate, which is good. But you probably also noticed that whenever she crafted it, the weapon had plus, like it was upgraded. These weapons can come upgraded, which is also a big advantage of them. So if we go, let me actually check the battle log to see which one I got. So it's a plus 13, which is this one right here, and the effect of this one is HP regen. And I remember for the Variable V Vice, the effect that it has is crit rate up, or crit up, whichever one. But you can see that we have the defense. I think the defense is always on there. The vitality might always be on there, or it just might be because I have a lot more vitality increase. But yeah, and you can, like I said, you can have them. I don't know what the range is for them to be, you know, upgraded, but you can see this one's plus 14. And for this one, I didn't upgrade it, I believe. I think I just crafted it like that. So yeah, this is something to note. Can be really good early on to help you in like early in game, or whenever you can just get them. And there is a real good use for it in like the end game, which I will cover in some other video. And it's a really cheesy method, which you'll end up seeing. But that's it for all of these. I will put, like I said, the screenshots of the other weapons, their Rarity 6 versions from Liz, so you can see all of them. So I'll put them up on screen now. But as those are going, this is pretty much it for the 10 things. Like I said, I kind of wanted to do this as like a tips / things you might not know. And sorry that some of these I don't really know on, like the buff cap, it's kind of weird, and then like the weapon effects not taking, you know, effect up in your offhand. Some of these were just things that I remembered from years ago reading online about, and I never tested them until recently. So it's hard for me to check and really know. So like I said, I don't claim to know everything about this game. I just know a little bit more than what, you know, most or average players would, you know at least. But hopefully some of these, you know, informed you of things that you probably didn't know, and maybe can help you while you're playing through this game, if any play through this game really, which I do hope they do, because it's definitely the best story in the entire Gameverse games. And the only thing is that it's just hard for people to get into because it's so old, which is understandable because it's the first one technically. But yeah, hopefully these all help you, and I will end up seeing you guys in the next one. So, peace.